Hi there, and welcome to our recording on Drop Everything and Spell. JAS time is what we typically call it when we go into schools to explain it. So yes, schools that build spelling streaming into their daily routine are the schools that undoubtedly benefit the most from using the program. It is most important to realise that spelling streaming is not a traditional spelling workbook. Children will be taught strategies and how to become better spellers, potentially for the first time. There's activities that are far more important to be completed in the classroom, with you at the top of the classroom, leading it as the teacher, by comparison to sending it home. Traditional workbooks have great activities that are useful for homework, that don't require a whole pile of instruction from a teacher, but also don't have a whole pile of learning in them. The activities that are built into spellings, for me, the important part about them is the strategies that are used help children become better spellers. We would urge you to build spellings for me into your daily routine. We've had a lot of schools that we have asked, let's say that we're using spellings for me as part of SSE, that built it into their daily routine when we asked it for September, October, and November. When we went back to every single one of those schools in either February or March, they all said that they still used to have Drop Everything and Spell, but they greatly reduced the amount of time that they had to put into it. It's important to note, it's best if it's structured, that it's a set time throughout the school day. So if it's first thing after small break, first thing after lunch, that everybody knows this is my time to get out my Spellings for Me workbook. Yes, your first year of using Spellings for Me, your first few months of using Spellings for Me, you will have to give it the most time. The strategies are new to the students in your class. Everything about Spellings for Me is new to you and your class and your school. So yes, you will need to give it that extra little bit of time. But after schools have used it for a couple of months, they reduce the amount of time that they allocate to spellings per day. It is important to note that, I was on a lecture recently in relation to literacy, in relation to the teaching of spelling, and that lecturer explained that spelling should be explicitly taught for 20 minutes per day in primary school. We don't need you to spend 20 minutes per day. It's important to note that. However, if you do at the start, give it 10, 15 minutes and then reduce it down to maybe 5 minutes or even 2 minutes per day. Okay, but it works best if there is a daily check-in. What do you do during this daily check-in is what I'm going to explain throughout this video, but it has huge results and huge benefits if you do build it into the daily routine. The children will start working on today's activity, or tonight's 3 spellings. It is important they can help each other, they can discuss different words, especially while getting used to the program, as you can see from the image in front of you. They may discuss with the partner that they have, can you help me with my spelling for tonight? My spelling might be because. They might brainstorm different words and come up with solutions for you if that's the daily activity, or they might be doing their morphology and etymology and they may be discussing those words. But everything they have, it can be peer tutoring and collaborative work during the first few minutes. Similarly, they will play their games or they will complete their activity. And what I mean by that is I'm going to show you in a few minutes what their activities are per day. What do you as a teacher do for that time? Well, you should be able to walk into your classroom and you should be able to say to every student, let's say it's 11 o'clock every day, everybody open up page 72. The next day you walk on, everybody open up page 73. Did you know that everybody's on the same page of the workbook? You can also stamp or sign the pages that they had for the previous night's homework. That we don't really need you picking up the Spellings for Me workbook day in, day out, or even at the end of the week. You can scan the room during this time and put your mark and your tick on each page. But most importantly, to get into it, these are the activities. A lot of teachers, we find when we go into schools, assign these activities for homework. And if you do, it is completely wasted. That's where we move away from the idea of a traditional spelling workbook. Our morphology and etymology lessons are usually on a Monday. So if you look at, this is our 3rd class workbook, look at the Monday's activity, it's the word kind. Now you can get the students in your class to fill in those words for homework, kinder, kindest, kind-hearted. It'll take them 2 minutes to do for homework. And you can never refer to those words again. But we would urge you to complete this in your class on that Monday, to discuss these words, to discuss, put it out to the classroom. Give me an example of somebody being kind-hearted. Some students won't have an example of how their grandmother was the most kind-hearted woman in the world. And all of a sudden we get into example of kindness or maybe unkindness from the yard, or you're opening up a different can of worms. But if you discuss these words with them, it gets them looking at the word kind, and the benefits are there for them. There's huge benefits to getting children looking at these words, the meanings behind them, the different uses of the word kind. Tuesday's activity is a word ladder. Wednesday's activity is fill the gap. And on Thursday, we have a game. As I said, if you assign this for homework on Thursday night, who am I going to play the game with? So the game is typically every second Thursday. Now, they can go home and play it with a parent or a sibling, possibly, but it's much better fun if they get to play that game every second week with their peer beside them. So we would urge you to complete these pages in class, okay, with your class. It's built in, as I said, it works best if it's built into your daily routine. Just to show you how it progresses, I'm not going to go through each workbook, but if we go up to the 5th class workbook, as you can see, the Monday's activity mean the word we're going to study today, the etymology morphology lesson, as I said, is generally Mondays. We're going to study trans words, meaning across or over, okay? And then it's up to you how long you spend on this. But if you get the children to just fill in these words on the right-hand side, such as transaction, transform, transit, and close the workbook, it's completely wasted. There's no benefits to it. What you want them to do is look at the word trans, how it means across or over, and to find an example through these words of something going across or over. How does transport mean across or over? How does transplant mean across or over? Somebody's going to be able to explain those words to you within the class, but then it's about discussing and looking at the other words and how transaction might mean across or over. The curiosity is then inspired into the children, and they get to look at the words and figure out all the different meanings in relation to across or over. As I said, if you just get them to fill in this activity for homework, it's completely wasted. We would urge you to complete these activities in school during the school day, okay? The activities that can be completed at home are this page. They would do 3 words per night. However, it is important to note, if your class is new to spelling streaming, okay, you might want to do these pages in school up until maybe Halloween, maybe potentially until Christmas, if it's your first year of using the program. Remember, we have a video lesson available to you for each workbook. If you're using workbook A, C, D, E, F, G, whatever workbook you're using, there's a video lesson that accompanies the workbook, okay? So look at that video, there's a video that accompanies each workbook. So look at the video and it'll explain to you how best to use that workbook. But yes, you can potentially assign this page every week for homework, 3 words per night. There's 2 important things that must take place in your classroom, potentially every day while doing Drop Everything and Spell. Yes, they will do these activities, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but you should get the students to look at their 3 words for tonight every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's Monday, you want this student to look at the 3 words, engage, urban, and opposite, okay? And then you put it out to the class. Everybody look at their 3 words. Do you understand what your word means? Are you able to put it into a sentence? If I don't understand what my word means, I put up my hand and I ask you as my teacher. You don't want a student going home learning a word that they do not know what it means. Now, I demonstrated this in the Guelph School recently, and out of 6 classrooms, 1 student put up her hand. She said the word I don't understand is the word governor. And the easy option for me was to go down to that student and explain the word governor to her and then move on. However, the best option for you is to put the word governor, or whatever word they shout out, of course, up on the board and use it as a vocabulary building word of that day. Okay, so I put the word governor up on the board, I let it out to the class, I gave them a few tips and tricks on how to get there. I explained who's the person in charge of the school, principal. Immediately they knew it was a person in charge. With all our tips and whatnot, we got to minister, we got to TD, eventually they got mayor. Student on the right hand side shouted out the word Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I knew I was on the right track, that they'd figured out where the word governor comes from in America and what it means. Okay, use those words that the students put up as your vocabulary building words of the day. Now, if you are a 5th or 6th class teacher, you may find that students that go beyond level 35 have words that are really, really tricky. If they say out a word that not even you know, and it will happen, that's up to that student to go to the dictionary, find out what the word means, and maybe explain it to the class, okay? Because there will be a time where you're caught out, okay? Secondly, they look at their 3 words for tonight, and they must have a strategy for their words. And if they don't, once again, they put up their hand, okay? And they ask you. So for example, if 25 students, 1 student puts up her hand and she says, teacher, I don't have a strategy for my word. And you could say the word is addition. Put up the word addition on the board and let it out to the class. They will come up with all 4 strategies for the word addition. Okay, they'll find a mini word and word in it. They'll find a letter drawing. They'll find a letter string, and they'll be able to put it into a mnemonic. Okay, so use those those students that put up their hand, use their words as your sort of revision every couple of weeks. And even if somebody doesn't put up their hand, it's important for you to pick a word, to pick a student every 3 or 4 weeks and say, Sarah, what are your 3 words for tonight? To write out one of those words on the board and to then go through that word and explain all 4 strategies while using that word. Revise the strategies every few weeks. It is important to note that the strategy they will neglect unless you inspire them to use them is the letter string strategy. So as I said, every few weeks, pick a word, pick a letter string and revise it. For example, Paul's word is wall. Put up the word wall on the whiteboard and then circle the ALL part of it. That is the letter string that we're going to focus on today, and then let it out to the class. Can anybody tell me any ALL words? Well, they're going to immediately shout out their hands and call, ball, small, tall, fall. It takes place during this Drop Everything and Spell lesson. It doesn't have to be every day, but 2 weeks later, you go back again and Sarah puts up her word and her word is attack, for example, and you focus on the letter string ACK. Okay, you circle ACK and you put it out to the class. Can anybody tell me any other ACK words? And they'll shout them out again. Sack, back, quack, snack. If you have some really capable spellers, they may shout out ramshackle or Macintosh or Blackberry. So they'll think of ACK words in that case. But every few weeks, we would urge you to pick one word and revise it and use all 4 strategies. Building Drop Everything and Spell into your classroom will ensure that the students in front of you have the tools to become better spellers, okay? Also, relation to this time, if nobody's asking you a question, you can help a small group or you can help an individual student with their words for that night. It's important to note that we are here for support, okay? At any stage, if you have any question in relation to Drop Everything and Spell or any area of the program, please be aware our email is Google searchable, and so is our contact telephone number. info@spellingsforme.ie is our email address, and our contact number is 015351661. As a parting note, schools that build Spellings for Me into their daily routine and have a structured testing time every month benefit the most from using the program. Those are the schools, we don't like referring to standardized tests, but those are the schools that see the results soar even within the first year. Okay, so building Spellings for Me into your daily routine and having a structured testing time that children know, teachers know, the school knows we're going to be testing at the end of the month and the dates. We're going to be testing 4 weeks later and the dates. I would urge you to look at 2 other videos, running Spellings for Me efficiently in your class, and also whatever workbook you are using, look at the video for that workbook. Thank you.